Hammond and the Clash, episode 2. We made it to episode 2. We haven't lost ourselves yet. I am LJ, got CJ in the house, and we're here to roll.
LJ said yet, because I'm slowly losing it right now. I think that this is episode 2, and we're excited because I'll be honest, we talked about a little bit before, prior to going into the show, where do we start? There is so much happening. There is so much going on currently, and it angers me. It frustrates me. I think I just want to kind of start with a base of block of, given all that's happened in the first 70 some odd days, how are you feeling about things right now, bro?
I would say that I like Trump's pace because I like that he's like active as far as the initiatives that people desired him to start rolling on, that he makes really bold claims. He is expected to back them up. He had a lot of things that he was trying to commit to within the first 100 days, which I think he's done a pretty good job for so far. But within all of that, the tough part about Trump is the way people are going to react to him. I do appreciate the way that the left has done a good job of continuing to resist. I think y'all are like resisting in a more educated way than last time around.
I hope so.
So the country hasn't totally fallen out of whack yet. But it does get dicier every day, I'd say.
I would say so. And my curiosity comes at, you're talking about this breakneck speed that we're talking about. There's a cost to everything, whether it be time, monetarily, our rights. I slowly see our rights as U.S. citizens slipping away. And this is just, I think that the reason why this conversation is so hard for me today, and as an audience member, it's staying on track with one subject. And I'm just trying to figure out where
Let's
I even
try to stay on one today, if we can.
It's crazy to me because I came in here and one of the first things I saw today was that, I'm going to call him your boy because he's not my president. Your boy was on his Instagram or Twitter, whatever he uses, his platform, at what hour of the night on a Sunday or Monday morning discussing how his portrait in the Colorado Capitol Rotunda was not what he thought was great. And again,
that's crazy.
And I'm talking about a paragraph long of his dissatisfaction with this.
Yeah.
And then went on to 60 Minutes and George Clooney and talking about how he's not a quality actor and everything. And I get lost in the own sauce because I can see what really matters: Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, literally due process because of what we did with the migrants that were shipped to El Salvador under either pretenses that were saying that they were gang members, but no literal evidence of due process that goes there.
Just like tattoo.
Tattoo. You have a tattoo.
Like, wait, what?
Yeah, and therefore,
but it's a soccer team tattoo.
And there's no evidence to support this. So I guess like in a full backtracking way, what I'm getting to is like, again, this comes back to like the common and the clash. The common is the way that I met you was through a position of helping people. This so far, do you see him helping people in a way that LJ agrees with? Like, are you seeing what's being done right now making sense is he adding value to this country right now or diminishing value? Because our European partners and even our partners to the north of us have now all lost trust in us. Again, let's try to stay with, I don't even know what the topic would be, LJ, because it's crazy. Because I want to talk about DEI with you. I want to talk about Pete Hegseth sending the plans to attack the Houthis in Yemen to a reporter from The Atlantic. Where do I start? Where do I start with this? So let's, This is a frustrated man wondering where and how LJ continues to rationalize with what he's seeing in here.
Yeah.
So, you can smell it. You can feel it on.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you one thing. I'm not going to be able to rationalize everything always.
Right.
And your frustrations right now, I can understand that you should feel frustrated in the sense of with the way that I think a lot of things get very confusing when it comes to the deportations, for example.
Okay, we'll start today. We'll start with the deportations.
And
Today, let's talk about that.
I'm not supremely educated on all the nuances of the particular deportations that have happened, right? Now, what I do know is that from what I'm hearing with the deportations that happened, it sounds like due process didn't happen accurately or didn't happen at all. And those ones were certainly, I would call them failures, right? I think you can chalk up an L to those deportations.
Big L, because it matters, because due process in this country is how our legal system works. And then if you erode the legal system and everything that it is, due process, as unjust as this country can be when it comes to how we decide to prosecute people of minorities or backgrounds of rich and poor, there is a due process.
Yeah.
And you are guilty until innocent until proven guilty. You have rounded up, by and large, though, a particular subset of minorities.
Yeah.
This isn't Europeans that we're trying to send to El Salvador.
Yeah.
This is, but not just El Salvadorians. This is people of South American descent being rounded up by ICE on pretenses that they are murderers or in some way have committed heinous crimes.
Yeah.
There have also now been reports that some of these people are just citizens that happen to have crazy tattoos or not even crazy tattoos, just tattoos.
Well, gang affiliated is also tough too, because if it's anything like gang affiliated in the actual projects in the United States, gang affiliation doesn't mean violent either.
No.
So that's where now, like, it's weird because there's like Midwest, like small town gang affiliate that people like start. It's like these BET gangs in the sense like you're watching it from afar and then you want to bring it to your town because you want it to you think it's cool. But then there's actual, like, I'm trying to be safe in my neighborhood and I'm forced to be affiliated with something just because where I'm born. And
you're saying the people that are in gangs, that in terms of their choice to be gang affiliated.
Yeah. There's I'm saying there's like gangs in Minnesota and you're kind of choosing it. Because you're like, oh, it sounds fun. So people literally are like, am I going to be a Blood or am I going to be a Crip? This is like in Minnesota, small town. Now, in LA, that's not a choice. It is where you're born, what block, and all of these different things. And what I know from, and let's just talk more importantly, in like an LA perspective, just because you're affiliated, wear the colors, or even particularly have the tat, it doesn't mean you're like have an intention of violence. It's the same thing as me being like a Vikings fan.
Right, exactly.
It's
like what sets you claim in the sense of what affiliation that you have or ties to an allegiance of subset of people or thing. And what I see though is problematic is that when they were deporting these people, there was a judge that had said, do not do this. Do not do this. The administration, Stephen Miller, said that they didn't have to adhere to this first because it was by word. This was not a written order. This was by word of a judge. Then they changed their story and said, well, the plane was already in the air when this happened. Then the judge said, I need all this evidence to prove this, and they weren't forthcoming with that evidence. It's wild to me, again, that this is the first conversation of the day that we're supporting an administration that is running rampant like this with court orders. I would be hard pressed to be able to find the Biden administration coming up against court orders from federal judges that is completely ignoring essentially what is being said. So rule of law then goes to the president and nobody else. Whatever they say goes. That's dangerous for America. Yeah. That is what we call a dictator. Do you see anywhere in this forming, and this does have to do with immigration, but anything that comes out thereafter, this is what a dictator would do. These are moves that dictatorships do, authoritarians, autocracies. There's no worry or thought in you that goes, whoa, this guy's kind of starting to hoard power. Like, is there anything
like this one of the tough parts for me when it comes to like dictatorial rule is I think that Trump does a pretty good job of delegating. And I get that this feels, one, the due process parts, it's totally wrong. And it's an L. What's tough about it is there's no due process at the border right now in the sense that we've had a run at a place that you always know that there's like this. You've seen all the pictures of where people come across. And I'm like, why do we not, like, even if it was like service stations just to be like, hey, this is how we can help. Like there's not even like tents there of like aid. It's like literally just like this weird run around of a huge fence, a huge gap. And then like what it seems like is like miles and miles of like farmland or desert kind of that's in between us and the border. I have a bigger problem with that due process than
them skipping the system to get in here legally.
I just don't think it's empathetic on any grounds. Letting someone in and kicking if you let someone in just like, okay, let's just let everybody in. Unfortunately, when you're kicking them out, it's gonna hurt. But what was more, I think, unempathetic, I think both are unempathetic processes in all of it. And unfortunately, good people are going to be hurt by trying to fix a solution that was broken from the beginning. And I struggle with it, though.
And the struggle to me lies in the fact that there was a solution during the Biden administration at the tail end of his administration there was a solution to provide some aid or help to the border crisis that was directly denied and told by now President Trump to not allow this legislation to pass because I need to run on this platform. So his hardline stance is now in play when there was an ability to make this a much more civilized, robust, helpful solution when we had the chance.
Yeah.
And I again, what we're talking about are as major quote unquote L's. I don't even know if it does it doesn't even do the justice of what that really is, though. Again, my girlfriend is an immigrant who came here and through her due process became a citizen.
Yeah.
There are people that want that same opportunity, and now we're gonna kick a bunch of people out who are still paying their taxes, if we could actually look up, see how much, I guess it would be undocumented people paying taxes in the United States. We're acting like these people are just like milking off the system. They really do contribute to our system, and we're just throwing people to the wind. I'm not sure. Let's see if it. 96. Okay, here we go.
We like this group.
We're pulling information from the Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy. And undocumented migrants paid $96.7 billion in federal, state, and local taxes in 2022. Most of that amount, $59.4 billion, was paid to federal government, while the remaining $37.3 billion was paid to state and local governments. I just don't see immigrants paying into a system, harming our system at a detriment that would be feasible to make them an enemy or a target of our as opposed to trying to help bring them into the system and help them get their papers.
Well, so I think that believing that any level of immigrant to the United States is a harm to the United States is a complete negative, right? Because and it's not real to what we're built by foundationally here. Everybody in the United States is an immigrant in some capacity other than Native Americans, right? So we all can, That's our history.
Correct.
Now, so vilifying even an illegal immigrant, an undocumented individual, I can't vilify the individual. Now, the system itself is corrupt and disgusting. And what I struggle with personally is this bill that Biden had in front that was like going to fix it. I don't have faith that either party truly wants to confront this particular reality, because this isn't a particular issue here. It's the reality of that America has to, all the undocumented people here contribute vitally to the economy that we have.
Both monetarily and in like actual labor being done.
Yes. So now the problem is, so if a Biden, for example, everyone's going to trust Biden's organization, the Democrats, more than the Republicans when it comes to, hey, if you're an undocumented immigrant, come and talk to us. We need you to show up within the next 2.5, 3 months, or make it like Real ID and say, within the next 2 years, you have to get into the system. Mm-hmm. We have to discuss this matter because we can't allow undocumented immigrants. Now, not undocumented in the sense of like this, don't stop thinking it legal, but start thinking the context of like, if you're here, one, we want to be able to know who you are. We want to know what services that we need to provide you. We do need to vet you if you've had like a violent history. And then two, we want to be able to incorporate you into what this country is about. We want to be able to give you a valid driver's license. We want your kids to be able to apply to our institutions. We want them to be able to go to public school. And within all of those contexts, I think that the left has done a real disservice to continue to leave this problem to the Republicans because it's such a difficult thing. But within that, I don't like the way the Republicans handle it either, because they're assholes about it. But somehow the left needs to get realistic about it, where it's like there's 1 million people coming across the border and everyone's just letting this stream come in. It's like, get 30,000 government workers to even just line up and be like, hey, I'll take a batch. It's weird that nothing's happened in our whole voting existence.
Okay, and what I'm asserting then is that there was a solution that was presented, because I think
there was 8 years of Obama. There was another 4 years of Biden. The left doesn't want to fix this problem. They never have wanted to, because it's too difficult.
Let's pull up what the Biden solution, or like the proposed Biden border solution was, or policy was going to be. I think that would be helpful to see what was going to be proposed, and what we know it was not. It was struck down. But let's see, proposed Biden's border solution. Let's see.
Embassy in Costa Rica. Maybe. Humane immigrant justice. Okay, even though I can make you maybe believe that this is going to have like some level of bias to it,
yeah.
I'm cool with I want to be able to enter it with what does the good stuff look like from a perspective. All right.
Okay. This was so following 10 actions were proposed. A smart and integrated approach to new arrivals. Create a White House task force for coordinating reception and welcoming services among the federal government, state and local governments, and civil society. Focus resources on processing at ports of entry and adjudications of asylum.
Sounds dope.
Or here's my crazy part of just off of number one with what you asked for.
So, but should we also go back? What was Obama's? What was Clinton's? Is it always been the same bullshit though? Because what I'm confused by is all of this is how we're 2025.
Mm-hmm.
How do we not have some level of solution? And to me personally, I go, you all don't want to fix it, either side.
Well, and to your point, I can't tell you about from George Bush to Clinton to Obama necessarily, in the sense that where they leaned when it came to this the border of the immigration. What I'm telling you is that there was a thing ready to go that sounds just like what you're asking for. And the guy that you ended up voting for said, don't vote for that thing.
But it was the last month. It's like, dude, Biden proposed this day one. Like, because there's so much of what we all know, we get caught in the political bullshit, right and left. I go, how was this not day one, this 100-day plan part? Right at the end and be like, oh, blame it on Trump. I go, that's some political BS to me. I don't trust that.
I don't necessarily disagree with what you're saying.
Look at Trump. Look at a Biden. Sorry, I actually don't want to cut you off right now.
No. I don't disagree with what you're saying. In the sense that there's probably politics in play, and you ask for a robust package. Both sides wanted to get it done. Wanted to see this through. So if both sides want to see this through, and then at the 12th hour, Trump comes in and says, don't do this. I need something to run on. And again, we're talking about the last 6 or 7 months of the administration, right? So it was at the tail end of his administration, right? But it's not saying this was the very last day, all right? Where does, even off of the first thing that was asked for, it's what you wanted, and yet we fall back to a position of pure assholery. That's not even a word, but it doesn't track with me how you justify at the end then saying, all right, well, they didn't do anything, so let's just fucking be dicks about it. Well,
no. I don't think it's what it sucks is, for example, like, so if I look at it as like, if the house is flooded, everyone's got to leave the house. We have to literally start funneling this water out and fix like the foundation in order to bring people back in. It sucks because it's like, well, who let this thing leak for so long? And
everybody, even the corporations did, because it benefited them to have cheap labor.
100%.
Everybody did, though. It wasn't just politics of it, the matter. It was everybody. But now we wanted to make it a political issue. Everybody benefited from this before. People were allowed to work and live, and the companies didn't have to pay labor at what the actual cost was.
I don't think we have. That's what I think we struggle with, is the real idea of what our economy is foundationally built on. And I think it's foundationally built on the backs of individuals that are living below the poverty line and within wages that the government actually can't represent. They can't go, these are our people. They have to keep them undocumented, because if you're documented, now you have to live a livable wage. You also have to like have the idea of minimum income. And I don't think it's actually possible with the way our economy is currently structured.
And the way, so as we a little bit morph into this, we went from immigration to talking a little bit about how the current economy is run. The current economy is run as to set up so that the top half here is all, we're still, I don't know how the notion of a trickle down economy has still, no one can press the billionaires, the corporations enough to hold them accountable. Does LJ believe that these corporations are getting away with fraud essentially then? Like why are we picking on the lower hanging fruit here versus handling the actual roots of this? You just said the roots of this all go back to how this is fundamentally set up.
Yeah.
Why aren't we attacking that then? Or looking at that, but we're not looking at the corporations. No one's asking the corporations to be held accountable for this. We're talking about their workers.
Yeah.
They're literally their scapegoat. Well, that's the workers then.
So now it kind of flows a little bit more into like taxes, right? And because taxes are where this level of like distribution happens in this like trickle down economy, right? And in a sense, there's both sides desire trickle down, in the sense of the Reaganomics was let all the billionaires have the money, it'll trickle down. Now, and the left is more on give it to the government will do it justifiably and safely. We're all going to pool our money here and it's going to trickle down to the streets.
Okay. So justify the standpoint where you say that I think you're speaking to like social programs of sorts.
Just money in normal people's pocket, even money in your pocket or mine.
Okay.
It could get into like entitlement programs and stuff,
right?
But it's less about that. It's more about just where the money goes.
You're asserting that the right believes in tricklenomics, trickle down economics, trickle down economics, and the left believes in what exactly?
The fact that the government is the group and the people that we can trust with distributing our funds wisely for everybody.
And I see, and obviously in this, politics is built around money, okay? So I'm not going to act like there are quote unquote liberals in the camp that don't also love big money, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm not sure that like your assertion is all the way, in the sense that I'm believing that a lot of people, like a Bernie Sanders, which is more of an independent but a progressive guy now, he's saying have the corporations pay their fair share, not redistribute this in a way that looks like necessarily socialism even, which I don't even at this problem the way corporations are allowed to run rampant. That's not a problem to me. What puts you and I farther away from the people in the 1% is the way it's currently being run. Yeah. I believe that there's a party that's trying to keep this in check and not let this thing get to where the poverty line now becomes $100,000. Like we're like people making $100,000 are falling into poverty 100%. Because we continue to pull. I'm just so confused as we get back to like the whole scheme of this, how anything that you really do believe falls under the camp of what this administration is going to provide for you then through getting rid of immigrants and continuing to keep the tax policy as is. Where do we gain foothold in that? Where do you see the benefit of this economically? How do you see this benefiting America then? Like what would astute to be a America first attitude?
Well, if we want to stay on immigration, what I struggle with is this idea that it's so obviously and clear that we do live in a space, especially in California, that if you don't make $100,000, you are going to be on this weird like poverty threshold. Not like poverty, but like life is a grind.
If you're always working
at 100,000,
you're always working.
Your life is a grind, especially when you get into having a family. And so, and we have enough money. It's here and available. Half of the money that's going out of a lot of people's incomes is going to distribute to something else. Apparently, like in California, it's top-down Democrats. You're going, okay, I'm making $100,000, but I'm still going to give away like $40,000 of it to the government because they're going to distribute it equitably to my neighbor that needs it more than me, even though I'm barely making it. And then you ask your neighbor, how's it going? They're like, dude, you'd be surprised. Like I got my EBD card. It got like $340 a month on it. I'm able to get a little health care to a certain extent. I can go to the dentist and stuff, but like, it's still a rocky road. Like it's everybody who works at Walmart is still like on this, right? So you've always heard that sentiment. You're like, wait. So when it comes to the immigration thing, I go, how with all the money that we currently have, we still aren't supporting our own citizens, but we still have like an overwhelming amount of people that were like, you can still keep on coming in here. I go, can we just for a second press pause till we can figure out our own shit yet? Because when I go into the projects, it's like the kids are like, yeah, okay, I have empathy for like what's going on here, but like, why don't we focus on what we have in America yet? It's weird to me.
Your point about focusing on what we have is the same point I have in terms of when it comes down to immigration. It would still come back to corporations and paying their fair share to actually know what really is the problem. The problem is easy to point out now because it looks like it's something it's not. It looks all pretty up here with the wealth and the abundance and the billionaire, millionaire class. The reason why it looks like it does on the bottom is because the people on the top aren't willing to hold themselves accountable to what it is to pay into this country. They don't pay in at the same equitable share. They don't do that. So everything else, therefore, takes the brunt of their selfishness. Everything is predicated on the selfishness of the top that is unwilling to, it extracts at greatest lengths all it can to continue to then, even the people in the stock market is technically for everybody, but it really only benefits a small chosen few that are able to actually participate in it, right? But we're still there. These are the people that get to benefit from it, but it's like gaslighting. Immigrants are the problem. Immigration is the problem versus saying us needing to pay the people at the top needing to pay their fair share. So then you could get an accurate portrayal of what America really looks like. Yeah. What does poverty really look like? Poverty is a choice right now in the sense of they're choosing to continue this cycle. You just said America has the most abundant resources that you could possibly think of. And yet you say we have poverty abound, and it's only going to get worse.
But we have abundance of money inside our current distribution methods, like in LA County, and it does suck because like I do think like look, I think we should get out of like all these major wars. I think that all the money gets lost at the top in some way or another, and it doesn't matter if it's right or left. I think money gets lost at the top, and I don't trust either party with it because it's proven time and time again that like everyone sits around and goes, it's the right, it's the left, it's the right, it's the left. Now I do trust fundamentally more what the right's doing than the left in this particular moment.
Wait a second. Now this is beautiful because economies grow under Democratic presidents. Economies go downward during we can pull this up. I don't know what we would be able to, but like we're heading towards a recession right now.
For sure.
And
I think we're heading towards much bigger of a recession.
Like a depression.
Not a depression, but I think it's going to be worse than 2008.
Okay. And going into 2008 was so I'm asking you how do you justify in your stance that the Republican Party is ready to lead us through this if you're saying we're going into a recession, but he's not doing anything to help it, and he's actually, by tariffs, a very fluid, ever-changing, everyday stance on what the economy needs to look like. How is that actually beneficial? And again, we'll find a way to circle this back to immigration, but right here, how does this actually circle? Like, how does his stance on the economy, how does that rationalize with your head right now when you say that the Republican Party is the one to right this ship, but we're heading in the wrong direction?
Well, I could even go back. I think that we've been kicking the ball down the line for a long time when it comes to our economy. I do think you always have to take like some steam off, and the pressure's been building for years.
And that's my thing is that the Republican talking point now has become, when Trump was running, he said, you're never going to see the stock market do better. You're never going to see it look better than it was. Your 401ks are safe. Now our stances and let's take some heat off this thing.
Yeah.
Let's take some heat off this thing. That's your parents. That's my parents. Like what we're taking the heat off is saying, hey, we need to pull back on Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, disabilities, veterans, the federal government. We're pulling off on things that are like directly affecting people versus focusing on things where, again, all I'm suggesting is that we make the people at the top pay their fair share, and you could get a real fair shake of what this all really looks like. But what's about to happen is because of the guy in charge right now and his administration, letting off the heat means people are going to really suffer.
Yes.
Really suffer. But I don't think LJ believes
I'm going to suffer.
Right. And you and I are going to suffer. You and I are two regular ass dudes having a conversation that are going to be figuring out the brunt. And who's going to separate themselves even more during this time? The top half, or the top 10%.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yes. 100%.
How is I call him your guy only because you voted for him.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think you have an inability to critique him.
Yeah.
But how is this man then going to rectify and right this ship as you see right now?
Yeah.
Through stances like his policy on immigration and having people not be a weight on our system or stuff like that. How are we?
Well, that's the thing. I don't think it's weird because I don't think undocumented immigrants are actually a weight on the system.
What? So,
I think they're an unvalued actual protector of our economy that no one wants to address.
Beautiful. So you say that right now. So I say, how does taking and deporting these people without due process, if these are found to be people that are literally coming to our country to create havoc or to make this thing something less than the American ideal, right?
Yep.
Then fine. Throw the book at them in this, but we don't know what we're doing. We're running buckshot right now through all of our policies.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I think a guy like you, I do believe your intelligence allows you to say, well, that's not the way to do it. And again, this big L speaks to literally our democracy as a whole, though.
Yeah.
That's why I get nervous and frustrated, and all these other things start to get like into it with.
It's just tough because I do look at it again like. I look at it as the party is full, the house is packed, everyone's yelling at each other. A fight's broken out in the house, and somebody has to come in the house and say, "Everyone, the fuck out! You're fucking out. If you lived here before, you stay. If you haven't, get the fuck out of this house and let's figure this out." That's how I look at it. And now unfortunately, people are going to be like, dude, I invited this person over. I invited that. Everyone fucking invited some over. We have to, the house is yelling at each other. It's burning. We have to figure it out. And then it sucks because the person that breaks up the house.
Who are we yelling to get out of the house first, though? It's not Eurocentric white European. Like it is South American.
Yeah,
that's Haitians.
100%.
And that has to do directly to white supremacy. Like that's why I said there's so much wrapped up into this, and it's I want the audience to know I do my best to stay on topic with like things like immigration and stuff, but it all gets baked into this crazy thing. And we're attacking minorities right now. I worry about my girlfriend's family because they're Ecuadorian and they have a certain aesthetic look to them.
Yeah.
That's directly placing Americans, like legal Americans at risk. You're taking a subset of people and placing them at risk to say this is to clean up the country. If you're telling me that, like, again, you're saying everybody get out of the house, but you're really saying like not you pointedly, but
it
like,
could be identified as everybody who's brown.
Yes,
get out of the house.
Yes. That's wrong. That's wrong. And that's not just a big L, it's quite literally racist. It is white supremacy in its motion. And I can
definitely understand why someone could believe that. And regardless of me believing it in myself, a lot of people in the comment section here would say, LJ, you don't even understand. Even though you don't think you're racist, you are in a sense like somehow racist subconsciously and you don't even know it.
I will say this. I have thought about this.
Yeah.
I don't believe you are consciously racist. I do not believe that at all. What I do believe is that you are holding up white supremacy to its standard. Because I've served with you, again, to the audience, I have served with LJ through a program called Engage the Vision, where we helped 3rd, 4th, 5th graders in South LA, and we would go mentor them on Fridays. And then I ran into LJ again over at the Watts Empowerment Center. For a lack of better terms, it is a project. And underserved, under-resourced. But these are places that LJ is literally the minority. The LJ is not you're not the guy there. So I don't think that the racist notion where it's like.
But you're saying I'm propping up the institution.
The institution.
I understand that content. Yeah.
And so do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right.
I can understand totally why you're perceiving it that way. Yes.
Right. And so perception is not always accurate. what would you say to somebody like, so my assertion is that by you saying that these immigration laws that are starting to take shape, or the immigration policies, not laws, immigration policy that's starting to take shape, it is racist. It is.
I don't think so. I think judging people by the content of their character, not the color of skin, is in itself not racist. It's what the American dream is. Now, the problem is that our current standard hasn't to actually been even taking the time to figure out people's content of character. We just say, get the fuck in here. Oh, you look like you're from Ecuador. You look Nicaragua, blah, blah, blah. You're in here. You're in here. You're in here. Now, what the problem with that is, to me, is that, look, 99.9% of people that come in from El Salvador are good freaking people. What are they running from? They're running from a bankrupt economy, and they're running from crime-ridden places that they're like, hey, I don't have enough safety at home, safety in my finances, but also safety in my life. I want to come here. So I look at it, okay, I'm going to let my door open. Cool. I heard that it's bad out there. Come on inside. Now, if I'm going to be nice to the person who's coming inside, I'm like, so you're running from something. Yes, it's kind of scary over there. I want to be safe here. Mm-hmm. I go, oh, I'm going to say, okay, can I just check you out? Like, are you not the problem coming? No, they are. Turn around. They're coming. Okay, cool. I'm like, well, the next time, and it's generally always fucking dudes, right? At the end of the day, if you want to talk about world problems, guys are the world problem.
Yeah.
So I go, and it's young military aged men are the fucking problem. If you want to just disguise it as that always, we're from 16 to fucking 30. There's something wrong with guys. And it usually comes from an area of protection. It actually comes from an area of creating safety in our family's traditions. And we want good things for the people around us. But sometimes it leads us to do fucking horrible things when the economy gets bad.
And I was just gonna say, because it gets tied to it's a lack of resources, but that then would come back to the economy and not providing. Look,
all I'm saying is when a guy comes to the door, if I'm just talking in my neighborhood, if a bunch of little kids say, hey, it was scary, it's scary, I'm like, get in here. Now, if a dude came to the door, I'd be like, hold up, bro. I don't care if you're a white guy or if 2-3 white kids walked in here, they said, there's some motherfuckers over there. I go, at least guy that comes in, I'm going, what's going on? And I would check with the kids. I'd be like, is that the guy you're running from? Bet. You got it. He's good? Good. So that I want our border to have some level of honesty about, okay, if some people are running from difficult economic situations or difficult, dangerous situations, I also have to check the door behind them.
I don't have a problem with checking the door. And I'm just curious of the assertion that, like, and again, I think that this is why, what would be the word? It's not the story. It's to me, it's propaganda to say, again, from the get-go, Donald Trump's legit running platform when he came down the elevator was saying Mexico is sending us their rapists, their drug dealers, their every unsavory thing that you could think of. Every person that falls in line, here's how I differentiate. I'm not sure if you would consider. I don't think you would consider yourself like a MAGA guy.
No,
I don't think you. No. Yeah, I think you would call yourself a conservative.
Yeah, I would don't get me wrong. Like, I will skirt away from things that I disagree with. I'm very cafeteria, and you could go
cafeteria. What do you mean
politically?
Like a little bit of everything.
Like, for example, I think it's crazy that we're not supporting Gaza.
Okay.
And now people will be like, oh, that's like more of a left-wing issue. And I go, no, it's actually a nobody issue. Like, nobody on any political party gives a fuck about Gaza right now. And that's where I would go. And I think we have to put like serious, wild sanctions on what's happening in Israel, right? Because like, how do we? So that's a prime example.
Okay.
I'm like cafeteria in that sense. And when I'm also cafeteria is like social stuff. I still think we need to do social stuff. I just don't trust our government to do it.
Who do you trust to do the social stuff? Businesses?
No, it's like literally, I look at it like this: is the more that we strip down the government and make it smaller, a lot of this stuff we'll get into Doge next week.
No. Okay, I just want to make sure you know the government is as small as it was in the 80s.
It's got to get smaller
with more people here. We grow as a people, and that thing becomes smaller. So government, regardless. So your stance is government needs to be smaller. Just like on face value, government what needs to be smaller, no matter even if it's smaller than it was 10.
No, it's scary. No, garage doors open in here.
Scared the shit out of me.
It usually freaks me out if I'm not looking at it. And we got you.
Hi.
You got like 15 more minutes, right?
Oh no, yeah.
What's up, baby?
Thought the world was coming to an end for a second.
Right? It's a boom. It's always funny too. Like sometimes the train will go by and you can kind of feel like the ground shake a little bit here. And it is tough when I'm talking.
Hi, baby.
Say hi to CJ.
Hi, baby.
Say hello.
Mwah, mwah, mwah.
Oh, you have the tiredest baby in the world right now.
Let's see if we maybe 3 steps, or I mean we'll see.
So what was I trying to articulate?
It was about the fact. So the government is as small as it's been since the 80s, and here we are, and I'm asking you, wanting to cut more from it because you trust the government or you don't trust the government to be able to, I guess, manage the care of the individuals.
Distribute the wealth, yeah. And the equity.
Yeah.
More importantly, the empathy. Like, for example, I think of a lot of the stuff that we have going on when it comes to like a lot of our social matters. You could call it homelessness. You could call it poverty stuff. A lot of it could get fixed with throwing a bunch of money at it. But we actually have to throw like the right people at the problem that are like close to the surface. And it has to be built on the premise of also creating positive outcomes. And from whenever I've been in like social curated positive environments, I've never seen a government employee there creating value. And that's what's tough for me. They come by and they get their little speech and then but they don't like send any money. They don't do anything. They maybe like help you clear up like, oh, you want to get, I don't know. They don't do much. And they have all the money.
What I would say is that could be a brash generalization in the sense, because I don't think America functions with this many people and this diversely if government isn't running at a pace that is somewhat successful, whether it be state, federal, or local.
I see our friends with way less resources filling in the gaps that a lot of people in Beverly Hills that are voting for Democratic institutions, thinking that those Democratic institutions are filling in the gap that I know that my friends are filling.
What's the gap we speak of? Like
when it comes to the gap between helping kids get better education, going to college, and filling in those gaps and feeling seen, heard, and actually like striving.
So
like everyone's like, oh my gosh, the education system. It's like, dude, if you go to these schools, you're like, all the teachers, like the teachers are the most amazing people on the planet. Mm-hmm. But the teachers are like, dude, we're strapped. Mm-hmm. We have no money. And you go, but somehow your institution is getting a bunch of funds. But the teachers are like, did you know I have to pay for my pencils? And I'm like, how is this happening that this $1 billion institution, multi-trillion in some aspects, like doesn't pay for pencils?
Well, and I would also look at like academically since the pandemic, I think that I'm not sure anybody would disagree, but feel free to check me on this in the comments. But the pandemic has hurt or hindered the academic process in general. It was hard to get things back ramped up in terms of...
And that's a whole nother story.
That's a whole nother story. Yeah. That's a whole nother story. But the numbers, are they indicative of what's going on educationally? Because we just had Linda McMahon take over this, but were the states that do it
which
best,
is crazy.
Ugh.
Don't get me wrong.
The states that do it best, by and large, if we can pull this up, like are the Democratic states. One of the worst is Oklahoma, that's wanting to put the Bible and prayer back in the schools. Like, so why are like the Democrats we're talking about with like education purposes, something that you like, that you believe in, we're doing it better.
I think the Democrats do a really good job of covering up those elements in white pockets. So
like, give me an example.
I think that, for example, LA in general is so diverse, but LA is actually very, very segregated.
And it's how it's lived.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so the institutions, like you might be like, LA County's not bad at school. You're like, yeah, but now go to the black and brown schools. Those kids are fucked relative to the kids going to Beverly High. Now, I don't know which ones are private or which ones aren't, but like all I know is that like liberals do this weird thing. White liberals. I don't really have a problem with any liberals that like have levels of diversity. White liberals piss me off more than fucking anything because they do this weird thing where like they play white savior, where they say, hey, Joe Biden will fix your shit. And I go, okay, he's just another guy you're going to have to. Now it's watch Gavin Newsom is going to be the next white savior. And I'm like, okay, you guys are all, Tim Walz is the next white savior. I'm like, okay, can you guys try propping up AOC for a real minute? Like actually find anybody of diversity in your whole party, which there's thousands of great educated, like diverse backgrounds, totally qualified, ready to run the party, won't give it up. Biden, prime example, didn't give it up to Kamala till 100 days out and been like, oh, sorry, just dropped it on your plate. So the Democratic institutions do a weird thing of like, yeah, I get it. The Democratic Party has like more wealth and is higher educated, but it has generally been in white populations. Now you do see like African-American women are starting to like totally carry a new level of higher education levels, like statistically, that is outbalancing everybody. But that's where I get confused with some of those metrics. Well, it's a long rant. There's a lot.
No, and that's why I'm deciphering. I'm just curious. I just feel like there's again, like everywhere we turn though, it's talking about a system that's tiered. This tiered system that continues to divest from the people and the diversity that should be invested in. We want to get rid of public education. We want to get rid of anything that even resembles what black and brown could even touch or even be a part of. We want to divest that and turn it all into private institutions and say that is the way out of this problem. That is the way out of this. So we probably are going to turn immigration policy into some privatized institution as well, like a way of doing this.
That'd probably not be great.
Well, where again, we're giving people legal citizenship now for $5 million, right?
Yeah.
We're giving people so we turned it into a business venture.
Yeah.
Is that the way you want to see immigration run? Would that give you the most robust, literal time?
It matters to me. It totally matters where the $5 million goes. I think the concept in itself on surface level is
pay to play.
Little crazy. I honestly, in the most realistic fashion, I can say that I like it, but it goes, what's the $5 million for? Like, where's it actually going? And that's what I usually have a problem with anything that if I pay a toll, a ticket, anything, I go, okay, I parked in the wrong spot of the street on Tuesday and you swept. Okay, 25. I get it. The penalty.
Ain't no 25 in LA.
Yeah,
60, 70.
But, it's 100 by the time I didn't pay.
Yeah.
But where's it go? And that is with anything our government's doing, That's what I struggle with. So the 5 million, I would say on the surface is stupid because it probably just goes to a slush fund.
Right. And so just like it goes with immigration, you're not getting any transparency either right now. You're not getting the transparency you desire. Other than Doge statements of what they claim that they're pulling out, and Doge is not the topic for today, but that'd be a long one. Yeah, you're not getting the answers you're looking for still. You're still not getting the transparency you're looking for as in terms of where your money's going. When they cut Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security.
Well, right now I'm getting the action that I was hoping for, which is the pot is stirring and people are now trying to figure out, well, what's happening here? How can I be valuable? How can I create and fill in the gap? Because
who's asking that question? Like the American people?
No, I would say like a lot of like different friends or family that I have. Like, let's say you care about an institution that does have some level of, let's say if something like with the veterans, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where people are like, holy shit, veterans are losing their jobs. Companies are going to need to step up and start hiring some veterans.
Why if you go to fight for this country, you didn't go fight for a company. You fought for the country. The country is what you fought for. The country should be taking care of you. You're not fighting for Target. You're not fighting. They can have jobs and initiatives, and a lot of these companies already have initiatives to hire veterans. But if you work for this country, at 83,000 people a clip right now that are threatened to lose their jobs unless courts intervene and do their things, why would a company be the one to help the veteran when you served the country? You didn't serve the companies.
Yeah.
Why would we ever want to say, oh, it is Target's job, Walmart's job, Amazon's job to hire veterans?
That's how the free market works, though. It is reliant on if you're going to have a social free market with less government intervention, the institutions and the companies do have to step up and fill in the gaps.
Exactly, but that's what I'm saying.
That's my intention with that stuff. It's not the government's.
So if I went and fought for the country, right? I went and fought for the country. You wouldn't think it's the country's therefore job to then have my back as I had their back to sacrifice my life possibly. And if I had a family, leave my family for years on end to go serve in wars that I might not even believe it. You believe that when I come back, I check out of my services, and then now it's a corporation's job to make sure that I get taken care of. It's like everything now is going to fall to the job. My thought is what I'm hearing you say is, if the America that you believe in, the free market capitalistic America, it is now all companies' jobs to take care of people. When we know
that's how taxes work.
And wait, like, what do you mean? Like, in terms of
like companies are taking on the highest burden of taxes, and so they do support those systems, whether we like it or not.
Companies
with less clarity.
Companies skirt the most taxes in the sense of that.
They still pay the most. They skirt the most and pay the most. Do they pay
the share that we pay?
I think they
do corporate, because it's a 21%. Is it as a corporation? Is it like, what's the corporate tax? 21%. I mean, but so essentially what I'm saying is your idea of America then is literally America is in itself, which is why you believe in Donald Trump, a business.
Mm-hmm.
And Donald Trump it's
a system of values of people that are fighting for this, at least the desire for freedom, for the government to stay out of their shit, stay out of their homes, stay out of their religion, and stay out of their way for what they desire to kind of live their life, right? Now, within all that, I want the government to only do one thing, which is basically help create a certain level of safety. Like there has to.
But that's what social programs are. That's where the safety comes from that you're not a fan of.
Mm-hmm.
That's where
no, I'm not a fan of social programs, but they are inflated to the point that the people that are supposed to be supported in those programs are being less supported by the amount of dollars that are actually there. These are inflated programs that are benefiting a small group of people and not actually supporting the people that is desired to support.
Okay, so
they need to be checked.
Right. Okay, so here's I'm all good for a check, right? And also, we're talking about when this new tax proposal comes to, the thought that 3 of these programs that you speak of that you really can't, I don't know how you could find fault in Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. Again, whether you believe that's going to be around for us or not, that's the conversation for later. But these programs exist right now.
I don't think they should. I think they should exist.
Right.
I think they should exist.
And so those are 3 programs that we're talking about that are that are being willing to be cut. Being by the name that's running this right now, the richest man in the world is wanting to cut the programs that you believe in, that actually, like, again, when we're talking about some of these programs, you can get down to some of the nitty gritty ones that are like these kind of one-offs that are very particular. All right. Yeah. But we're talking about programs that are vast and help a lot of people. Mm-hmm. So it's mind-boggling that we're for and against something at the same time.
So I guess this is where I am with Trump. So with where he is right now, having a family forum and sitting down with the family's finances and saying everything could be cut. The gym memberships, we might have to move houses. We might have to downsize. We might not be able to drive cool cars anymore. We might not. We're gonna figure out what kind of clothing can we wear. We're gonna figure out. Are we gonna start? We're not shopping at Whole Foods. We already haven't been shopping at Whole Foods. Now we've been shopping at Trader Joe's. Are we going to Smart and Final? Like, everything has to start being discussed to the point you go.
You're talking about individual families, or this is an analogy?
It's an analogy for what the country's currently doing.
Okay.
Everything's on the table. And people go, for my family, we've been having this conversation. We go, okay, we do like Trader Joe's. Let's figure out a way to keep it healthy. We really like our bougie gym membership. That's like kind of the first tier thing, because it's like gives us mental clarity, get our daughter out to a pool. And it's boozy. It's a crazy thing, but we keep that. Now, everything else thereafter, it's like, yo, we're going to be shopping at Marshall's and Ross, and we're going to go to Costco once a month to make sure we fill in the gaps of the necessary stuff. So with that, I go, everything, even Social Security, all that stuff has to be like, all of our finances are on the table. What are we cutting? And everything's subject to getting cut.
And you're also saying that at knowing, why are you and I having to be put on the table? Why would you put veterans on the table?
Everyone has to be on the table. That's the shitty part. Everybody. And then you pick from there.
Okay.
I don't think the veterans should get cut.
Okay, if you were working over here at the Watts Empowerment Center, this is just an example. And let's say that job had provided you your income. And then Watts goes, well, we got to do some rollback and figure out what's going to happen, because like we got to do some cost cutting because something's running inefficiently here. This check that you rely on to provide for your family becomes immediately on the table, ready to be cut at the whim of somebody else who you know is completely well off and fine. Yeah. Do you find that to be fair and in line with what you believe value set wise? My point is, you're putting humans, Americans, we can start to do, but you're putting a human life at cost of making it severely and substantially harder for them to try to find dollars to save, especially coming from the top. It comes from the top. It's not like the bottom people were asking for this.
Yeah. What I like about it is the only person actually finally saying it. Everyone's getting cut, because you go into the different spots in LA County, you have all these mayors, all these Democrats, you have Biden saying, I'm going to make sure I don't cut you. I'll never cut you. Most Americans have been cut year after year after year. And the government has lied to you. They've said, I'll never cut you. And you were never even in consideration. And so that's where I at least appreciated Donald Trump's honesty of being like, in order to actually get down to the people that we've been cutting forever and have never even had a chance, we have to cut all the shit.
I I think California does it better than a lot of places because we have one of the strongest economies in the world.
Yeah.
One of the strongest economies in the world and one of the most diverse populations and one of the, how many people live here? 48 million, 50, 60
Sure.
and
It's like one of the world's largest economies.
okay.
Like I think like fifth.
So we live here so we can find our loopholes and our potholes. This place still does it remarkably well for what we have and what is going on. I'm not saying that we can't do way better.
Yeah.
But again, I think that we can find ways to figure out and invest resources that would require others to put in more that have more already than to say, well, the middle class needs to figure this out. Or let's give a tax cut to the rich people and then we'll invest in communities.
I think the middle class has had to figure out on their own since the 80s, and they've been the only people that have actually been contributing to the tax system for a long time in America.
And we know the middle class is shrinking.
I don't think the middle class exists anymore. I think it was worn out. I don't think it doesn't exist.
So who does the burden fall to then? Because it's not going to go to the rich people. They're not going to take the brunt of it. So it falls to what the middle class was. The middle class is now leans more towards a not poverty, but like a poorer class system. Mm-hmm. Where are you going to extract from? They're not going to give up. I'm telling you this: the 1% ain't giving ground unless it's a force. So where is that going to come from? And do you think Donald Trump's going to say, "Hey, corporations, I need you to start, taking care of these people," when we know that's not the corporation's bottom line? We've gotten rid of childcare in the workplace. We don't take care of them, so we have to figure out how do we pay for childcare. Where do they give ground, and where do we win? They give ground. They keep winning. We keep losing ground. How do we gain ground?
To me, it's having our institutions. Actually, we have enough money. That's the crazy part.
I know. So where do we get ground back and they give ground? Because corporations aren't going to do it because they don't have that. Their bottom line is to make numbers grow.
There's like trillions of dollars that our government has every year. Mm-hmm. And everyone goes, I get broker every year. Our government gets richer and the rich people get richer.
Well, the government, I don't know if it gets richer. It gets more in debt, but we ask for more money. Because
nobody knows how to actually balance the books, right?
And if let me say this too. There was a proposed millionaire's tax by Biden that I don't know what the number was, but you would get like $50 billion a year. So in 10 years, you would be making a huge dent at that. But that, again, a billionaire or a millionaire's tax was a no way thing. We won't look at the upper to get to the lower. Everybody refuses to do that. And I'm excited for the next conversation because there's a lot of things to talk about. And we kind of went back and forth.
Yeah, I don't know if we got anywhere today, really.
It's hard. And I don't know if anybody gets anywhere because I'll watch CNN and I'll see people at the round table. Scott Jennings or whatever his name is, he'll be talking for 10 minutes and say something and someone else says something. No one gets anywhere. Yeah. That's what's hard. I just want to get back to the humanity of it. And I think that LJ at his base root sees the humanity of it, but we keep giving grace to the corporations to take care of humanity. I don't think that that's where we get our where we get our growth. And I don't think that us picking on immigrants is the way to get our humanity back. So
that's where I want us to strip down the government to a point that some of the government's only job is to play referee between the population and business, and then also other countries. And right now, we are asking the government to play referee and quarterback, and I think they should only be the referee. That's what I struggle with. Does that analogy make any sense at all?
I think you're saying the government double dips. It's saying it's to help the people, but it's also wanting to take from the people.
I'm saying we're asking it to ref the game, and we're saying we're also asking you to be the thing that fixes everything and be the person throwing the ball. And it's I think the governmental people should just be these weird, annoying refs that are just calling fouls. And we're asking him like, yo, go pick up all the pieces and just stay fit and do all this shit. And it doesn't work. All I know is whatever we're doing right now is broken as fuck.
Yeah, I mean, our immigration policy is broken. Our government's broken. There's a lot of things that are broken. But again, I would say that from immigration to the way that this government goes about right now with any policy, to quote unquote take the Elon chainsaw to everything. Like, this isn't just about Elon, but like to take the chainsaw to the entire government.
It's reckless.
It's reckless, and you're agreeing that it's reckless. And the person
I think we just need reckless right now.
LJ, that would mean that you're with people losing things that they currently have that they need to survive. And I don't think you believe that.
I think if those things were going to be lost, it was inevitable. And ripping the Band-Aid off is actually more empathetic than telling him it's going to be okay.
So someone's insulin going from an affordable price to now $90 or whatever the price they go to, that needed to happen?
No, a free market system, the way that I actually desire it, you should be able to bring in someone in a product that would price competitively. That's a whole nother thing, because the big pharma organizations are so messed up in this country that they can do things like that. If you actually had a competitive landscape, when someone's like, hey, this costs like 10 cents to make and it's $700, $1,000 a month to buy, another group would be like, hey, I'll sell it for $1.
Who came in and helped with that when it was a problem, though? Joe Biden. Joe Biden made the cost of insulin go down. The government came in and did that to the corporations. They came and mandated that this now needs to be at this cost.
We'll get into it probably in later episodes. He gave them insulin and he gave them COVID. And that's where it got. Pharmaceutical companies made more money than they ever could have possibly imagined in those years.
And what I would say is like, look,
he knows how to dry, dude.
This comes back to corporations that go unchecked. If there's no one there to check corporations, such as a place like the government that doesn't keep any guardrails on the government, Trump wants the same thing. He wants unregulated, unstipulated, run capitalism, do what you do, run wherever, however you go.
Same.
That is dangerous. That is dangerous. That is dangerous. That is dangerous. That's where I'll end on this. Again, I appreciate everybody for listening, because we started on immigration and we stayed there, and it goes all over. It's just this is America. But again, I would say that unchecked capitalism is going to be a vicious problem. It already has proven to be so.
Yeah.
With guardrails, that's how we got into the last one with those subprime mortgages. That's how we got into the last thing. We were qualifying people because we wanted to make money.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a lot. It's a lot, LJ. I love being here and having these conversations with you, because there's a lot that I see that I think is common. And the clash becomes when we say things like this: you trust the corporations to get this ship running right. And I'm saying they're the reason why.
No, I don't trust. I trust competition, not the corporations.
Okay.
That's what I trust, competition to make things right, not corporations.
Is there, okay.
And so like the government does need to come in. Now that's just going to be a whole nother concept, but like the government needs to come in and make sure like a monopoly can't happen.
Brother, Amazon, Meta, like the people that were sitting at his thing.
Yeah, I get that.
So you see it though. You see it's saying you're agreeing and you're disagreeing at the same time. You're saying the problem is the solution. The problem that you see, that like we need to have like a free market that's fair, that is literally on the verge of capitalism in every way. Amazon drives the mom and pops out of the shop. Meta, Facebook.
But we said the same thing about Walmart, and Walmart's not going to survive. You know what I mean? Like someone probably could have been like, Petco is a monopoly in pet products, and boom, Amazon comes and eats. So there's these weird evolutions. So
you think at one point or another, Amazon will cease to exist or divest into something else?
Yeah. And I don't have a problem when it gets too dicey that the government says we got to break you up.
You promised me that.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Okay. And Amazon, Facebook, and Tesla, all these global superpowers, there's definitely times, like for sure, like Facebook in different verticals, you're like, whoa, what's happening here? Amazon in certain verticals, you go, what's happening here? 100%. Tesla hasn't done too much monopoly yet, but I think that they will. When it comes to AI, that's when Tesla's going to start getting dicey.
I hope they figure their thing out. I was going to say, I hope they cease to exist, but
they will someday.
Well, and maybe sooner than later if they continue with this. Their stock continues to have a tough time to find resurgence. But again, I really these conversations are extremely tough to have because they can go a multitude of ways. I understand we started with immigration and it evolved into something else, and I would rather it evolve into having more chance to grow and learn about subjects. So I think that was beneficial. And I look forward to having the next conversation because there's so much, brother.
Yeah.
There's so much.
That's what's going to be fun about this is like, look, this is episode 2. We just launched episode 1 and 2 on the same day.
Check them out.
So you can kind of absorb some of this. First one is just intro. This is like, okay, us starting to get into the topics. And now we do want to be able to kind of educate ourselves on topics. Even if you are like, hey, I want to listen to you all talk about whatever it is, throw it in the comments because we want to kind of also be guided a little bit by the audience.
I would love
and the
to hear what people want to
it.
talk. And I would love to be able to take the standpoint, if anybody's listening, take the standpoint to bring a conversation to LJ and we have a conversation about something. That would be a great place to start. Because again, I came in here to talk to LJ today, and it was almost like I was flustered because I didn't even know where to start. You can talk about DEI, immigration, the Doge. There's a number of things we could talk about, and because they're very important, and we really do care. I really care about these things and how it affects humans. And I look forward to episode 3 to continue to crack open this little thing because we're just two people having a conversation, but two people that want to find some common agreeances.
Yeah. Or at least discuss the clash and try to slowly figure it out. We're not going to be a spot where you're going to ultimately find solutions and stuff, but I do think we're being different by walking a tightrope that a lot of people aren't willing to walk because we're in a theory like the representation of the friends that unfollowed each other, right? And so I think that's what's kind of cool about this is like we're so quick in society right now to distance each other when we don't feel that we have a common expectation of the world, and we immediately go back down to, well, if you kind of like don't agree with, let's say if I for example, I had said I like Elon Musk in an Instagram the other day. Someone says, "Oh my God, that says a lot about you." Maybe. Potentially, but I also don't really know what that person's potentially means by that, even though it can mean all the things I could think that they mean. So now we get in this, I think what I know about someone. And that's what this conversation's hopefully closing the gap on.
And it's going to close the gap next week because I think that's where I want to start next
Elon?
week. I want to start on Elon next week. And
Let's talk Elon.
What you think, feel on this. And again, I appreciate we started at immigration, and I think we have some agreeances that there needs to be a robust resurgence of care towards both borders, but some way that we can make sure that this is running cohesively, and we don't want to see people harmed by these policies either. So I appreciate it, LJ, man. It's a tough conversation to have, and like I said, it's not always easy, but I'm glad we do this because it is important to have these conversations, especially right now.
Yeah, and feel free to press either of us to be like, "Hey, CJ, you got to press LJ harder on this," or "LJ, what the fuck were you thinking about this?" Or, "Hey, this was like a counter you could have had to CJ's point." Like, let's make this a little bit of a dialogue.
Bring a community in here. I welcome the community.
You don't ultimately have to just say like FLJ or FCJ. How about you add a small antidote of context to what you mean by that? And we would really appreciate it.
FCJ and or FLJ and. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm sure enough people will just be mad that we just continue the conversation. But appreciate you, man. And Doge and Elon next week is going to be chaos. All right. Over and out.